Well, welcome everyone to Daf Yomi 1 week at a time. This is Masechet Chullin, and today is our third class where we will be reviewing Daf 13 through 19. Okay, Daf 13, we were in the middle of discussing what if can minors do shechita? Again, shechita is the ritual slaughter of animals. And we said that minors cannot do shechita. So now the assumption is because their thought, their machshava, their thought doesn't have legal significance. So the Gemara says not by itself, but what if they do an action, meaning they have a thought and they do an action which shows what they were thinking? Maybe that would be significant enough. So the Gemara gives different examples. Let's say a minor slaughtered a sacrifice in the north, and it shows that he intended for it to be an olah. If a minor brings fruit to the roof of their house. Now, this is in the world of impurity and purity. When we have produce, it can only become impure if it gets wet on purpose. The verse is v'chi yutan. You have to put water on the produce. So the question is, if the minor turn the fruit over, which shows that they want the fruit to get wet, so then it is valid, it is vichiyutan, and the produce is now susceptible to impurity, right? So this is a machshava, a thought or an intention, and an action. But maybe there's a distinction if it was biblical or rabbinic. Or maybe the question is if the minor has ma'aseh. Again, ma'aseh is action, not about the intent, the machshava, right? For sure, they don't have machshava, but maybe only the action would be deemed reasonable or halachically significant. So the law is that their action, even if it's a biblical commandment, counts, but just a machshava, just the intention, even if it's rabbinic, it is not enough. And therefore, we know that for sacrifices, you do need intention. Otherwise, it is invalid. Okay, the next Mishnah on Daf 13 tells us that if a non-Jew does shechita, so then the animal is a nevela. Again, to remind us, nevela is an animal that's dead, and it was killed through a different means than shechita, than ritual slaughter. The issue is that if it's a nevela, it now transmits impurity. And therefore, even if you carry it, you would become impure. Even if the non-Jew did a perfect shechita, because it's a non-Jew, it doesn't count. So now the Gemara explains, you can't eat the meat. However, you could get benefit from this meat. It's not seen as idolatry, and therefore you could get benefit. Another opinion is, no, it is seen as idolatry, and therefore you can't even get benefit from this animal. what about the shechita of a renegade, of a min? So the Gemara says, what's a min? A min or a renegade is someone who is devoted to idolatry. They could be Jewish or non-Jewish. But basically, we assume that any shechita that they do, they have in mind idolatry, and therefore it is invalid. Okay. Jews, as we said, Jews and non-Jews can be minim, again, these renegades. And I think it's just fascinating, like psychologically, already 2,000 years ago, the Gemara tells us most non-Jews aren't minim, meaning even if they bow down to an idol every once in a while, most of them don't worship it intensely. It's just something that people are doing, so therefore they're doing it, which I think is just like a fascinating, just psychological idea that they realized, thousands of years ago. Again, minim are people who do it wholeheartedly for the idol, and it's saying that most people are not that way. But these minim, the ones who are very, fanatic or very intensely idol worshippers, we have to be very careful. They are very dangerous, and therefore we have to stay away from them. We do not accept a sacrifice from a Jewish min, but we do accept from a non-Jewish min. Again, interesting that we're more stringent with the Jew than the non-Jew. Okay, the next Mishnah tells us that if you do shechita at night, and if a blind person does shechita, it's still valid. Again, this is in contradiction to, or contradistinction to sacrifices. If you remember, in the past two Masechtot, we were discussing sacrifices. They cannot be done at night or by a blind person, but shechita of regular animal can. So now the Gemara explains, wait a minute, what do you mean can? Really, it's after the fact, what we call b'di'eved. B'di'eved means if it happened after the fact, okay, we say it's okay, but to say lechatchila, meaning a priori, meaning to make a blanket statement that this is okay, is not the case. Another opinion is, no, even lechatchila, it would be okay, but only if there is light, meaning if you're doing it in pitch dark, there's no way you're going to do it properly, and therefore it is invalid. But if there is some light, it would be permissible to do. Okay. Daf 14, the next Mishnah tells us, if you shecht on Shabbat or on Yom Kippur, even though, which you're not allowed to do, even though you're liable for death, because again, it's one of the transgressions, one of the forbidden things for Shabbat and Yom Kippur, but even if you're liable for death, the shechita itself actually is valid. Okay, so now we're going to ask, what do you mean valid? What does that mean? So the Gemara says, no, you can't eat the meat. It doesn't mean that you can eat the meat. And now we're going to see a machloket. Maybe you can eat the meat after Shabbat is over. Okay, and now we're going to discuss maybe you can cut up the meat for the dogs on Shabbat because you're not eating it, but you're getting benefit from it. Rabbi Yehuda says that if it wasn't a nevela before Shabbat, meaning if it was a lag before Shabbat, you can't cut it even on Shabbat because it's not prepared. The word is muchan. It's not ready before Shabbat, and therefore it's actually muktzah. You're not allowed to touch it. But if it was prepared before Shabbat, then it would be okay. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, next. Okay, but maybe there's a difference between the shechita case and cutting up the animal case, because an animal is fit for human consumption before Shabbat, and now you shecht it, it's also fit for consumption. With a nevela, again, nevela means a dead animal, it was fit for humans before Shabbat, but now it's only fit for dogs. The Gemara says, no, before the animal was killed, it wasn't fit for humans, meaning it's a living animal. It's not meat. And it's designated for breeding. It's not designated for supper. And therefore, there is a distinction. Okay, on Yom Tov, on a holiday, Rabbi Huda says it's fit for both consumption and for breeding. Therefore, when you shecht it on Yom Tov, which, by the way, you are allowed to do on Yom Tov, right? On a holiday, you are allowed to cook, which is perfect, right? We have Shavuot coming tomorrow night. On Shavuot, you're allowed to cook, right? On Shabbat, we are not allowed to cook. So if you shecht the animal if you slaughter the animal on the festival, it shows that you had intended this animal for eating. This is the concept of breira. If you remember, breira means retroactive designation, meaning in the beginning of Shabbat, I don't know if I'm going to be hungry for a steak or not hungry for a steak, so I don't know what I'm going to do. But as soon as I slaughter the animal on Shabbat, on the festival, on the Chag, so it shows that really that's what I wanted all along. Now, we have a machloket if we hold by breira, meaning breira is a concept. Do we say that that is okay? Can I have retroactive designation or not? And the Gemara brings different types of cases, and some of them prove if you can use breira or not. But many of them really aren't breira, and therefore we didn't prove it. Okay, and again, there are a lot of cases that are brought. Can you use shards of utensils on Shabbat? Meaning, do they have use? Can you squeeze juice out of fruit on Shabbat? And if it came out alone, then you cannot drink it. And Rabbi Huda says that if the fruit was food, so then the juice is permitted. But if the fruit is for juice, so then you're not allowed to because it wasn't designated. Okay, so here the Gemara is trying to find the source that Rabbi Huda says that you can't eat from the shechita on Shabbat. Okay, so here the Gemara brings a case on Daf 15 about cooking on Shabbat. Again, as we said, you're not allowed to cook on Shabbat. Let's say a person did cook on Shabbat. If he did so bishogeg, inadvertently, so you can eat it Saturday night after Shabbat. But if he did it on purpose, you can never eat the food. Or maybe our Mishnah is according to Rabbi Meir, who says that if a person did it on purpose, you can eat it on Saturday night. And we say, no, you can't eat it. You can't eat it whether it was on purpose or by accident. Therefore, our Mishnah again is according to Rabbi Huda. The Gemara says, wait a minute, maybe it's the third opinion that says you can never eat it. Right? Again, there's an opinion you can eat it on Shabbat, an opinion says you have to wait till after Shabbat, and an opinion that says you can never eat it. We say no, that our Mishnah is according to Rabbi Yehuda. So, again, if somebody was discussing this case that somebody cooked on Shabbat by accident, bishogeg, and he taught it. The Tana, the teacher, was teaching that you can eat it. But if it's on purpose, then you can't. And Rav said to him, why are you teaching this? You need to be quiet. That's not the law. And then the Gemara asks, why did Rav silence him? So it must be that maybe he was misquoting, right? He said, it wasn't talking about if you cooked on Shabbos. The source was if you slaughter on Shabbos, if you shecht on Shabbat. Again, if you do it by accident, then you can eat it. And again, then they silenced him again because the idea was there's a distinction between cooking and shechting and slaughtering. Okay. If you shecht, if you slaughter an animal for someone who is sick on Shabbat, now we know that when somebody is sick, you are allowed to do certain things for that person. So if you slaughter this animal for a sick person, a healthy person cannot eat it, right? You can't say, "Ooh, look, there's a steak. Let me eat that," right? You can't do that. But if it was cooked on Shabbat, the healthy person can eat it. Why? Because you could have chewed the uncooked food, meaning even if it was raw, it's still edible before Shabbat, whereas a live animal is not edible before Shabbat. And therefore there's a distinction between shechita, between slaughtering the animal, and cooking food on Shabbat. Okay, and then the Gemara says that the law is that if you slaughter for a sick person, the healthy person can chew the raw meat. I don't know why you want to do this, but you can chew the raw meat because it was slaughtered for the sick person, meaning there's no such thing as slaughtering one portion of an animal. Either you kill the animal or you don't. And once it's killed, that's it. It's finished. As opposed to if you cook for a sick person, the healthy person cannot eat it because we're afraid that you'll say, oh, wait, let me look at how many people are in the house. Oh, you know what? I'll cook extra, right? Because of that, we say that the healthy person cannot eat from the cooked food on Shabbat, but again, food that was cooked on Shabbat for a sick person, but could from the slaughtered meat. Okay. Next Mishnah. If you shecht with a sickle. Okay, wait, I think I have a picture. Hold on one second. We have a lot of pictures today, but I think I had a picture of the sickle. I'll go back to it. 1 second. Here. Okay, 1 minute. Let me share my screen. Share. Okay. And again, this is from the Daf Yomi Shir of Rabbi Eli Stefanski. Okay, here's a picture of the sickle. Now, if you remember, we spoke about the fact that the knife has to be smooth and not jagged. Okay, so if you shecht with the sickle, again, that has one smooth side and one jagged side, or with flint, or with a reed, it is a valid shechita. Of course, we're going to say you have to do it with the smooth side. And then the Mishnah says, everyone can shecht and with anything except for the harvesting sickle, the saw, animal teeth, or a nail, because they because they're jagged, they strangle instead of cut the anatomy. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to explain. Really, this Mishnah is b'di'evet, again, as we said, after the fact, meaning a regular sickle. You should not use, because we're concerned that you're going to use, even though we say you can use the smooth side, we're concerned you're going to use the jagged side. But if you already did it with the smooth side, so then it is okay. All right. If you attach a blade to a wheel, and this is amazing because the Gemara is already talking about machinery, right? So if you put a blade in on a wheel, and it slaughters the animal, again, it has to do it in the proper way. So then it would be a valid shechita. If the knife was in a wall and you passed an animal over the knife, it would be valid. And it's valid to use something that's attached to the ground. But if a reed is still attached to the ground, it is invalid. Okay, so now we're going to explain this. But on daf 16, if you uprooted the reed and then reattached it, a reed or a rock, so then it would be valid, meaning in theory it should be detached from the ground. If it's still growing from the ground, you can't use it. But if you detached it and then reattached it, that would be okay. Okay, let's go back to the wheel. One opinion is that it's valid. Another opinion is that it is invalid. Why? So the Gemara says it depends. If a person moved the wheel, one explanation is it's like a potter's wheel. So then it's valid because what's called koach adam, the force is coming from the person. Even though the person isn't holding the knife, if you're causing the animal to be slaughtered, then it would be valid. But if it's moved by water, like a mill, like a water wheel, then it would be invalid. Another opinion is that both of them have water, but if you opened up the water and it flowed, so then that would be okay. But if the water is already flowing and you didn't do any action, then that would not be okay. And the Gemara gives this a similar case with murder, right? If you stand someone in front of like a river or a dam, and you open the dam and they drown, you're liable. If you just put him somewhere and then you opened it far away and then it slowly got to him, that's called secondary exertion, and that you would not be liable. I'm not saying you should do it, but it's still murder, but it is not a capital offense the way we understand it. We say that we learn it from Abraham. It says that Abraham took the knife to slaughter Yitzchak. So that shows that it needs to be detached. If he takes it, it means it's not attached to the ground. Rabbi Chia says, no, that verse is only teaching us that Abraham did it out of zeal, meaning he did it in the best way, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. And now the Gemara talks about this concept of detached and reattached. In Hebrew, it's called talush. Talush means to detach, and then ubasof mechubar, but afterwards you reattached it. This does not count for idolatry, meaning if you reattached it, it's seen as still detached. And therefore, if you bow down to a house, because it's made out of rocks, and those rocks were detached from the ground, and then reattached to your house, it's seen as something that is detached, and therefore it would become forbidden. But we know that if you bow down to a mountain, right, like a mountain full of rocks, you would not make it forbidden because it is attached to the ground. So here we see that we have this concept of detached and then reattached. Okay. The other case we had was the knife in the wall. And that shows that it was detached. The Gemara says, no, it's not necessary. You can't learn from that case because a knife doesn't become nullified or canceled out by the wall, right? A knife is very powerful, so it stands out literally and figuratively. Okay. So, okay, now let's go to the knife in the wall case. So the Gemara then now clarifies the knife in the wall is valid for shechita only if the animal is below and the knife is above. Okay, because you cannot put the animal above and then go, on the knife, because we're concerned that an animal is heavy, and if it rests on the knife, it's going to be what we call drisa. It's going to get like crushed instead of severed or sliced, and therefore it would not be valid. The Gemara says, well, or maybe we're talking about birds. We know that birds are much lighter, and therefore that would be okay. Since we mentioned reeds, the Gemara tells us that they're actually very dangerous. Reeds can splinter, and therefore you can't use it for shechita. You can't use it for circumcision, for brit milah. You can't cut your knife with it. You can't cut your meat with it, and you can't clean your teeth with it, and you can't use it to wipe after the bathroom, right? All of these things, the Gemara says it's dangerous, and therefore that's why it is prohibited. Okay, so all right. The bottom of Daf 16 teaches us. Okay, let me take a step back. There's two types of meat, right? Especially from our last masachet or two masachtot and this one, right? Meat from a sacrifice, from a korban. We know that not all korbanot are burnt completely, and sometimes when you bring a sacrifice, the owner gets some of the meat, right? And you have a barbecue. There's another type of meat, which is what we eat nowadays, which in Hebrew is called basar ta'ava, which literally means meat that is desired. It is not a sacrifice. It's just meat that you decide you wanted to have a barbecue. So now the Gemara explains that in the desert, when the Jewish people were wandering in the desert, basar ta'ava, regular barbecue, was asur, was prohibited. If you wanted to eat meat in the desert, you needed to bring a sacrifice, and then you can take home some of the meat and have a barbecue. And when they came to Israel, it was permitted to do regular shechita, right? And then when the Jews were exiled out of Israel, they thought, oh no, you're going out of Israel. Maybe again, we're forbidden from eating meat, from regular meat. So the Gemara says no, right? And our Mishnah says you can do shechita le'olam, forever. What does that mean? That as long as we were allowed to start eating regular meat, that continued whether we were in Israel or outside of Israel. Why were they not allowed to eat this type of meat in the desert? Because they were so close to the Mishkan, to the temple, so then you could just bring a sacrifice and then you can have a barbecue. But when they lived in Israel, the temple was very far, right? If you lived up north or all the way down south, it would be very complicated. Can you imagine if you wanted to have meat, you had to go to Jerusalem first and then bring a sacrifice and then you could eat meat, and therefore once they got into Israel, you were allowed to eat regular meat. Okay. Daf 17. Okay. Hold on 1 minute. Okay. Then the Gemara discusses how they did, what they ate in the desert, certain types of animals, and they were slaughtered in certain ways. And animals that could be a sacrifice were forbidden to eat in the desert unless they were brought as a sacrifice. However, if you had deer, right, which we know is called a chaya, it's a wild animal, which cannot be a sacrifice, that actually they could eat in the desert because it wasn't a sacrifice. Now, if you brought meat into Israel that was killed in right, in the way that was allowed in the desert, but not allowed in Israel. The question is, could you eat it? So the Gemara explains that in the first 7 years of conquering the land, they could actually eat anything, even non-kosher, because they were at war. And we know that when you are at war, certain laws don't apply, right? If I say you can only eat kosher things and you're in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing to eat, you are allowed to eat non-kosher. Therefore, again, we're talking about conquering Israel. I'm not poskening now. But the Gemara says that maybe we're talking about within the first 7 years, or again, maybe non-kosher was permitted from a non-Jew, but not from your own, right, non-kosher food, and therefore that would not be okay. We said in the Mishnah that you can slaughter with anything, right? So what does that mean? But we know you can't, and it says with everyone, anyone can slaughter. Everyone includes a kuti and a mumar. Le'olam, every day, means, le'olam, forever, means day or night, on the roof, on a boat. It sounds like a Dr. Seuss book, but basically wherever you are, that shechita is, again, you have to do it the proper way, but as long as you did it correctly, it would be okay. And you could do it with anything, anything including flint, glass, and reeds. But again, there are certain things that are not okay. So hold on a minute. Let me go back. Good. Again, these pictures are so good. Okay, wait, no, not that one. Okay. These are like AI generated pictures. Okay, so we know that anything with teeth, right, like a saw or like a serrated knife, is invalid because, again, it's going to pull the simanim, the pipes, and therefore it would be invalid. Now, what about if the knife has a nick? Okay, so here is a nick. A nick means a dip, a V in the knife. That would be invalid. You are not allowed to use this knife. Also, just if you look, this is what a shechita knife looks like. It is a long rectangle, very thin blade. And also, depending on what you're shechting, it gets longer. We'll talk more about that. If it has, okay, so the first thing was a nick, right? So that's like the V. Okay, now, here's just like, you can see the anatomy. This is coming, the top is the front. I know you don't like when I put it in my hand here, but right in the front is the trachea, the kaneh, the breathing pipe. Underneath is the esophagus where you eat, and then you have the spine. Okay, meaning it's from like the animal's lying down from the front to the back. Okay, right? And here he shows that if you use something serrated, right? Look at the knife is serrated. Look what it does to the anatomy, right? It chops it up, and that's not okay. It needs to be a smooth cut, so that would not be okay. Now the Gemara says, what if it has a smooth side and a jagged side, right? Meaning, if you look like at this knife, I think I have another picture here, right? If I go from the left side to the right side, it really is smooth. I mean, there's a little bit of a dip, but nothing would get caught in it, right? If I go from the right side to the left side, that is jagged, right? So what if you, right? What if you use this? Would it be okay? Again, with the nick, it's definitely going to tear in both ways. Here it would only tear in one direction. So the Gemara talks about 3 different types of issues with a knife, right? One is the V, that's invalid. The next one is a half a nick, which would be this, meaning you shouldn't use it, but if you used it in one direction and you didn't like pull on it, so then it would be okay. And the next idea, the next one is this, what they call a wavy knife, where it goes up and down. Now, it goes up and down, but it's still smooth, and therefore this would be valid. It does not need to be a straight line, right? And from here, right, we learn that you need to check the knife. You learn it from Shaul the king. Said, right, was given the knife. It says bazeh, right? You have to use this knife because it needs to be checked. Now, the chacham, the scholar, needs to check it. But again, some say that he doesn't really need to check it, but it definitely has to be checked before you slaughter, but it doesn't necessarily have to be done by the chacham. So now the Gemara discusses how you check the knife. So one opinion is you can use like the shadow, right? And here you see like it gets like accentuated so you can see the nicks. Another opinion is you use water. So there's two understandings of what does it mean, water. One is this picture, which I think is amazing. Again, thank you, Rabbi Stefanski. So one is you slide it across the surface of the water and it creates ripples, which shows that it's nicked. Another is that you actually put water on the knife, and then when it goes down, right, it goes roop, right, and it gets stuck in the nick, and then you'll see the water. And that would be right, and then that would be, you'd see that there was a nick. Another opinion is you can use your finger, right? Like if your nail kind of dips in, you know it's a problem, or your tongue, please don't do that. Or you can like cut a hair, or you can actually cut meat. And the Gemara says you have to check it on all three surfaces to check if it has a nick. Okay, the next issue is, what if you heat the knife and then you do shechita? Okay, so the Gemara says actually this would be valid because we assume that that it would cut before it burns, and therefore it would be a valid shechita. Okay, again, if the nail catches on daf 18, if the nail does catch, so then it's called a pgima. There's a pgam, a problem with the knife. There's a better word. I'm sure Zohar will write it. If there's a imperfection or something wrong with the knife, that's problem, and then it would be invalid. Okay, if the shochet does not show his knife to the chacham, to the scholar, so you actually ban him and you say he cannot do shechita, again, we need to have some sort of like checks and balances, and you announce that all his meat is non-kosher, and you remove him from your job. You remove him from his job. And by the way, you can shecht with a detached nail or a tooth, because as long as it's detached, so then it's like a rock, right? It's something sharp. If it's attached to, let's say, a jawbone, then it looks like a saw, and that would be problematic. Okay. Next, Mishnah. We said if you use this sickle, we said was invalid, but if you only cut in one direction, so then Beit Shammai say that it's invalid, and Beit Hillel say that it is valid. Now, if you smooth the teeth, so then it's like a knife, and it would be okay. The Gemara explains that Beit Hillel, when it said valid, it didn't mean that you can eat from the food, from the meat, but rather it would not be a nivela, meaning it wouldn't give impurity, but right, and it wouldn't give impurity, but you can't eat from it. Okay, next Mishnah. Okay. So now, trigger warning if you don't like anatomy of animals or people. So just you should. Okay. Anyway, okay. Here we're looking at the trachea. Okay. Again, the trachea is what's called the kaneh in Hebrew. It is made up of different parts. So you can see there are rings. That's the light purple. It says tabaot. Tabaot are rings. You can see that in the back it has the red arrow. That's the flesh is at the back of the neck. Now, at the top of the trachea is what's called the tabat gdola. It's a big ring. And then you have something called the kova, which looks like a helmet that's above the tabat hagdola. Okay, we'll go through each thing. So now the Gemara says the Mishnah says, if you shecht within the ring of a cartilage, meaning here it shows you the different parts. Again, the rings are on the right. Something else. The tabaot are not a complete circle. They're horseshoe. I'll show you a picture in a minute. The tabat gdola does go all the way around. Then you have the kova, and then you have these things called the chite. From the word chita, it looks like grain, like wheat. They're inside the kova. Okay, we're going to get to all of these things. This is what it looks like with the rings. They don't go all the way around. And this is what it looks like without the meat. Okay. Now, the green is the proper way you're supposed to do shechita. You're supposed to do shechita at the tabaot, in between two tabaot. Okay? But what if you did shechita in the middle of a tabat? Okay, so if you did it in the middle of a tabat, and as long as you leave a little bit of the ring, so then it's valid. Okay, and you need most of the circumference of the cartilage. Okay, so this is the concept that's called hagramah. Hagramah means that if you do hagramah, it means you went outside of the limits of shechita. As we said, you're supposed to do it within the regular rings. What if you went above that to the tabat hagdola? Right? So again, if you go above or below, that's called hagramah, and that would be a problem. So now the Gemara tells us that when Rabbi Zera made Aliyah, he actually ate meat from animals that their shechita was done through hagramah, right, in the wrong area, which Rav and Shmuel said aren't really kosher. So why didn't he keep the laws that he had when he was in Bavel? So the Gemara says that if you move to Israel, you take on the laws of the place, and you can not keep the stringencies from the place that you came from if you do not plan on going back. So now the Gemara talks about if you, again, did shechita here in the tabat hagdola, or what if you started in the tabat hagdola, and then you see how the knife slips into the kova, you went above the place that you were where you weren't supposed to be. So then what is the law? So from the slant of the kova, of the helmet, and down, that's valid. But right now there's a machloket. What happens if, as we said before, what if you cut it in the right place and then in the wrong place, and then you went back to the right place? Okay, so as long as 2/3 of the shechita was done in the right place, so then it would be okay. Or no, it has to be completely in the right place, or a majority. That is the machloket. Okay. Another option is, hold on a minute, let me see. Here, you see here, now we have these chitim. So it says that, let's say you started, again, as we said, in the right area, or in the wrong area. So here, let's say you do it straight, but you're in the slant of the helmet. So if you left some of the chite, these kernels, that would be okay. But if not, if you cut them, you see how there's like a green area and a red area. The green is okay. The red is not okay. Okay, let me see if I have more pictures. Is that it? Okay, that's it for my pictures for today. Okay, wait, we have a little bit more to do. Okay, again, what if you shecht through a hole that was already existing in the trachea? So some say that that is valid, but if you shecht and it reached a hole in the trachea, that would be invalid, right? Meaning at the back. Some say that it's the same thing, this idea with the hole, it's the same thing as if a non-Jew started doing the shechita and then the Jew finished it. As long as the Jew finishes it, so then it would be valid. Whereas the second case is if the Jew started the shechita and the non-Jew finished it, that would not be valid. Or the Gemara says, no, it's not the same case. They're different, right? Jews need to cut the majority of the shechita, and therefore, even with a hole, as long as the Jew cut the trachea, then it would be valid. Okay, one more Mishnah. Okay, now the next Mishnah is going to compare shechita, slaughtering of animals, to melika. If you remember, melika was what we did to the birds in the temple. It went from the back of the neck, right? So basically what we're going to say is whatever is done for shechita, which is from the front, is not done for melika, meaning they are exactly opposite. So now the Gemara is going to speak it out. If you shecht from the side, it's valid. If you do malika from the side, it's invalid. If you shecht from the back, it's invalid. If you do malika from the back, it's valid. If you shecht from the front, that's valid. That's the way you're supposed to do it. If you do malika from the front, that would be invalid. And therefore, it says that whatever is fit for shechita is invalid for malika, and vice versa. Now, when we speak about malika, it says the oref. So the question is, what is the oref? One opinion is it's the back of the head. Then the Gemara says, no, it's not the back of the head. It's the back of the neck, right? A little bit lower down. And this is based on a verse. And with that, we are going to stop, and we'll pick it up next week on our regular day on Tuesday. So first of all, wishing everyone a Chag Sameach. And we have a few minutes, so if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Yes.
I wrote down so I wouldn't forget.
I lost you. Hello? Zohar? Zohar?
Zohar, we heard you say you wrote something down. There you are.
Yeah. Okay. It keeps bouncing back and forth. It keeps toggling. I wrote down so I wouldn't forget. So you said when someone moves to Israel, he takes on the customs of the place, and that is the basis of people who and they didn't eat kitniot on Pesach, but now that they moved to Israel, minhag hamakom is to eat kitniot. Well,
That's the
there's an
big
opposite
machloket.
opinion. The opposite. Right, because the opposite says, okay, let's say you have a river and you build a bridge over it, and what happens if the river dries up? The bridge is still there. So, you know, so that's the other side of it. But anyway, I got married to a Taimani, so that's fine.
Okay. Excellent. Yes, Aliza.
A second ago, I understood everything you said the entire hour. This hour, I understood nothing. Okay, can I take an orange on Shabbos and cut it and hand squeeze it and make orange juice and drink it?
No.
Well, there you go.
You can, if you cut a lemon and you squeeze it on your salad, then you can, because you're doing it for the food. But if you're doing it for the juice, that's separating, and therefore that would not be okay.
Thank you.
So when
You're
you
welcome.
make yourself a cup of tea and you want to put lemon in it, so the order is sulam, sugar, sukar, sulam, samach lamed mem, sukar, the sugar. You put the sugar in the cup, then you squeeze the lemon onto the sugar, and then you put the water in. But the
Whoa.
water has to be, of course,
I never heard the
klishini.
mnemonic. That's very nice.
Oh, really? Really? Oh, yes, definitely.
Cool.
And of course, that has to be klishini.
And by the way, Zohar, when our teacher's gone, would you stay just 30 seconds? I got to show you something.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
Ilanit.
so then the question that, has come into this conversation that wasn't in our study is if you're going to keep sugar out of your diet, there's nothing to pour your lemon onto before what would you do?
So squeeze your lemons before Shabbat. Keep the lemon juice in your refrigerator, and you can add it to your tea.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so without sugar. So let's say you have an ice cube. Can you put an ice cube in? So you have to put water in the cup, and then you could put the ice cube into the water. But not put the ice cube in first and then the water then.
If it's hot. If it's cold, it's fine.
I hope there's a book written on
If
this
it's cold.
someplace.
If it's cold, I'm talking about a cold drink. You want a cold drink, okay? You have to put the water in first, and then the ice cubes into it.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions on shechita and knives?
Thank you for the wonderful diagrams and pictures and all that. You really went all out. We really appreciate all your work. That was really great. It's always helpful. That is very helpful.
I'm glad.
Even though it's hard to look at, it's clarifying.
Oh, and you never mentioned carotid artery, and I've been waiting for this lesson.
Not yet. You have to wait.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
Not yet. Again, the simanim are the two pipes. It doesn't talk about the artery yet. We'll get there.
Okay.
But the actual simanim are the pipes themselves. Sorry, I keep pointing to myself, but still good. Yes. All right. Wishing everyone a Chag Sameach, a beautiful Chag Shavuot. And if you want to review on Shavuot, you have all night. You can, learn your daf. And Shabbat Shalom, and see you next week.
Shalom.
Chag
Sameach.
Thank you.
Chag Sameach.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I got this back from Israel last week. That's 2.5 months. I wanted you to know I actually did send you the money. I did. I didn't know you didn't get it. I just thought you just never mentioned it.
No, I didn't want to press, but
How about just let me know? So
it says here you said P.O. Box 66, not 6608?
Yeah, but you know what we both left off? I mean, I think this is what happened, because it came right back. I didn't write Israel, and it's not in your instructions. So they're looking all over the world for this address.
Right, and there are cities in America called
Okay.
Efrat.
All right, so that's okay. When I see you in a
Amazing.
year, I'm just going to hand you the
Um,
Oh my gosh.
Okay, never
Okay.
mind.
All right.
Oh, bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye.
I feel bad that you spend that much money to mail something
Yeah,
that.
$20 to see. But I don't really. You know what happens when I
But
turn
why
80?
so much money? Postage?
No, there was no choice. You think I would have taken a cheaper choice? The point is, when you get to be 82, 83, okay, in 2 weeks I'll be 82. Money doesn't mean that much to you. What are you going to do? Take it with you? It doesn't. I'm not trying to be flippant. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm just saying is that it
Well,
sounds like
I just wanted you to
they
know,
took
I
advantage of
actually
you.
wrote you a letter telling you how much I value your friendship and thank you for teaching.
Oh, in longhand. Oh my gosh.
Now, here's the deal. It's a money order, and I got it at Wells Fargo, and that was $5, and that's no big deal. But it's got your name on it. So I'm going to go tomorrow to the bank and see if they at least put it back in I can use it and then just in a year bring other kind of money. But I don't understand. I've never used she was so helpful. I just don't know how to use a money order, quite frankly.
You do you have a scanner? No, okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I have one that makes copies. Is that a scanner to you? I have a machine. We have a machine in the office that makes copies. Is that a scanner to you?
No, because I need a file. I need it as a file, and then I would have to because when
Okay.
I would get the check, I would scan it, and
It
then
wasn't a check. It was a money order. I didn't want a
it
check.
doesn't
I
matter.
didn't. Oh,
It
I
doesn't
never
matter.
mind.
It doesn't matter. It has to be a check made out to me. Right.
Yes.
Money
What
order
I'm
is the
going to
same thing on
do,
the
if I
check. It's
can't, I'll
possible.
just bring the original one. I don't know if there's a time limit on it or not. And listen, this is why I had to stop. I don't want to go back into AFib with my heart. My heart
Of
is
course
beating
not.
normally. If I go back in,
Baruch Hashem.
what is it? AFib? It's
AFib is
atrial fibrillation.
right.
I don't want that to happen to me. So I
Of
had to
course
stop
not.
the things that were causing me at my level in life to be stressed.
Right.
And this was one of them.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
I once sat in a bank for almost 2 hours for trying to do what you asked me to do. That was a joke.
Oh no.
See, something that, people say, well, it's easy, it's easy. It's only easy to the person that knows how to do it.
Right.
It
That's
was,
true.
I just want you to know, God willing, I will see you next year on 2017 for the celebration. At least say hello, give you a hug. My daughter's coming with me. I hope.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
I know you didn't get it. And I just wanted you to know I was trying to be responsible.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so I kept on asking the post office, are you getting any mail? And they said, yeah. And I said, what about mail? Because I keep getting things from asking for donations like before Pesach. Okay, so what's happening with stuff from February?
Yeah,
And
that's when I sent it, February 20th.
right, so they said, well, things from abroad are starting to come in, but I didn't get anything, and I didn't want
You
to
remember the
bring it
time
up.
you said that you got some mail from something from December, and I just thought you got February and December mixed up. So I thought you got it until I got this. I've noticed
Uh,
to go back to the post office. It was in the safe at the post office.
so then, oh, I see. That's why you didn't know they didn't cash a check because it's a money order and it's not out of your
And yeah,
account.
it wasn't a check, it was a money order. So the money is tied up now in the money order.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
okay. We'll get it figured out, honey. Thank you.
Okay. But next time you happen to be in Wells Fargo, just don't make a special trip. But next time you happen to be at a clerk, ask them how long is a money order valid for.
Yeah, I know. Because if it is, I'll just keep it. It's a big deal. I'll just put it in my.
Right, right. But
And
if it's not,
then if it expires, I'm
you're
going
gonna have
to put it
to
back into my
undo
checking
it.
account. I mean, I don't want to throw money away. So, okay, honey. Have
Right,
a good day. Shalom, shalom, and
right, right, right.
bye bye, darling.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.